I'm so pleased to be talking this morning with Wendy Lee. Hello, Wendy. How are you?
Good morning, Elizabeth. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, Wendy Lee is the founder of Lead Hership Revolution Coaching.
Leadership.
I love that title so much. So genius. And she is a co-author in our Be the Beacon anthology.
Feels so
um,
good to say that.
I, yeah, and I want to thank you so much for jumping in and sharing your story and in our anthology. I know it takes a lot of vulnerability to
Mhm.
share our stories. And I know that's something you talk about. So you're definitely walking the walk, not
Yeah,
just talking the talk on that.
yeah.
Um, and I want to know from you, what drew you to share your story in this way?
Yeah, so it was so interesting because as everybody knows, this last 18, well, it's past 18 months now. I think we're going on, they said this is the third winter. So we've been in this different place, lots of upgrading happening. And in the beginning, while it was happening, um, there were some things that I was doing in my business, retreats, guest speaking, workshops, and all of that stuff was in person. And all of a sudden, of course, everybody knows that that stopped. So I really checked into my heart and I thought, do I want to uh, pivot? That was kind of like the word of the year, pivot. And
Mhm.
my soul was like, no, just stay steady. And I hadn't really taken a big break from starting my business and leaving the corporate world. And so I just kind of laid low for a little while. And there were some ups and downs with that, which everybody had, and all the isolation. But when I was ready to pop my head back out and emerge, I immediately just checked in and I was like, what do I want to connect to? Like what groups, what things do I want to do? And immediately I got two hits. I want to do some speaking gigs
Mhm.
and I want to do a book collaboration. Now, this idea just was given to me. I was in the process of writing my own book that had stalled. And I thought, you know what? I know enough about collaboration. I think that I would rather collaborate first before I do my first book. So immediately I thought about Ladies Power Luncheon, which is an awesome group that supports women and we support one another. And I called Dr. Davia, and of course, being the person she is, she said, how can I help? And I said, here are the two things that came in my heart. She said, done and done. Here, let me connect you with Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, you and I had met right before this change in our world. I moseyed down to your part of the world and did some speaking gigs, but I didn't really put two and two together at that time that you were publishing and doing these books and things of that nature. So it was just really interesting how it just showed up because all I did was plug back into the energy.
I
Yeah.
love that so much because that's really how all of this started too. With my first anthology was about the Great Pause,
Ah,
right? And I did it because in one day, three people completely disconnected from each other, right? Different parts of my life, kind of said that they wanted this sort of thing, right? Oh, it'd be so cool to write about this right now. Or wouldn't it be neat to have a collaboration of different, all of us writing together? And because I was tuned into it, I could hear it. But if we're not
yeah.
tuned in, if we're not giving ourselves space, if we're, in the rat race of busy, busy, busy,
Oh,
busy, we
yeah.
won't hear the whispers of the universe or the shout, even the shouts of the universe.
Or we'll hear our self-doubt, right? Like that's really loud and clear. But yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd love to hear, I know you have a small portion of the book of your chapter that you'd like to share with us. Can you give
Yeah.
us a little reading from that?
Yes. So the title of my chapter are Life Lessons of a Firefly. And it was interesting that when I said yes, like immediately this image of Firefly came. And it reminded me of when I was a little girl catching fireflies. Luckily I grew up in all different parts of the United States, and one part had fireflies. And I remember the first time seeing it, it was so captivating. And even going back as an adult, it never gets old to see this miracle, really. So I'll kind of come in the middle, where after I describe afternoon and an evening in the summertime of catching fireflies. So the fireflies I caught on that blissful summer day, and I shared the same fate. In the morning, I discovered all of the fireflies laying at the bottom of the jar. They were dead, lifeless, void of any light. Their glowing bodies now looked ugly. Somehow they were transformed into mere bugs, not the superstars they were the night before. I felt awful. Immediately, I thought to myself, it was my fault. They were at the mercy of my care, and I blew it. I must have not put enough holes in the lid, and without enough oxygen, they withered away in the night. As I held the jar of dead fireflies in my lap, a deep sadness came over me, and I began to cry. I knew exactly how they felt. I wanted to fly around like they did, carefree, shining my light and illuminating everything and everyone around me. But my light was slowly dying inside too. My oxygen was being sucked out of me, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I had this really deep connection with this firefly that on one side, they're just this vibrant, glowing, dancing, doing their own thing. But as fireflies, they need oxygen to have that glow. And if we don't give enough oxygen to ourselves, or it's getting depleted in different ways, our light can dim or burn out all the way. And in my case, it was a lot of things in the family, but particularly the sexual abuse that I was experiencing, even at that young age, at the hands of my father. So it was like I was on this very cellular level with this living creature of how I identified with that feeling. And then that's kind of how I went into living my life until I discovered, oh, I can produce my own oxygen. I get to be the caretaker of that. And what a difference that has made in my life.
And I'm so grateful that you have chosen this path. And I know it's a path that you choose every day, right? Because getting the oxygen in our life is just not a one and done thing,
Yes.
right? You had to shift, and heal and do a lot of work. And then it's a choice. And
Yes.
I love that you are in this particular anthology, Be the Beacon, because what you are doing, you're living this life, right? Like I said, you walk the walk, that you can show the way for people that might have had, because I can relate to this of this feeling of, oh, my light has been dimmed, whether it's been a thing that has happened to me where it's not safe to shine our light, right? Or it's something that we choose because it just doesn't feel right. We were talking about when we met before, in person before pandemic hit the world, that at that time I was so attracted to your speaking and who you were, but I was too nervous to come up and talk with you because that's who I was. Now I'm like, who is that person that was too nervous to go up and talk to this magnificent person? But so it's interesting. It can show up in big ways and small ways. So the way that you are doing this work with Leadership Revolution and helping people through your speaking and coaching and all of it is really shining a light and helping people find their light again if they've lost it.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that you're doing this in the world now.
I love that. I love that story about when we met. because you weren't shining your light, I didn't get to know those pieces of you. And I had already been thinking about writing a book because I know that when I share my story, it allows people that permission to lean in like, oh, I'm not the only one. And this was given as a gift to me by coaches and mentors that I've worked with throughout the years. So it's like passing that shine, that light to the next person to light their light without putting our light out. So when I did find out that not only are you this fabulous author, but you're a publisher and you hold such a beautiful space for people to be able to feel safe to tell these stories. So it is about, we all feel the same way. And even though this particular traumatic thing may not have happened to everyone, we all can relate to that underlying feeling of things being out of our control, especially as a kid. And then we modify our behavior and kind of change how we are in the world until one day we just come to a breaking point and it's like, oh, my soul is like, I'm so not going to do this anymore. This self-suffering is like, I'm really on a mission to change that. And that's why I started Leadership Revolution and left an awesome career in HR, but I knew there was this higher calling to do this. So it's a two-way street. Every time you step out, every time I step out, we connect in that middle part, and we're all on the same journey, just at a different juncture. So it's beautiful. It really is a beautiful thing. And it's not, all roses and butterflies. It's a process, right? Transformation is a process. So if we can be kind and understanding with ourselves, feel all of our feelings, like no emotional bypassing, we take a step, we feel into it. How does this feel? And then from there, we know what the next step is. And that's what we just do every day. Like
I love that because it's not just like, I'm just going to push through all the things, push through. That's not the message we're giving.
No,
right? It is to
that's
take
what
the
we
step.
used to do.
Right. I did.
Yeah.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah.
And I know you have this really cool, I think it's called a vulnerability guide.
Yes. So all of this stuff takes vulnerability, and there's some advantages when we feel safe and we get kind of those boundaries and discernment around us, that we can step into that safe space of vulnerability. So I have a guide. It's called the Vulnerability Guide, 10 Surprising Benefits. And if you go to leadershiprevolution.com/vulnerability, there's a great guide, and there's some, you can get on my email list, because I've got some other awesome events that are coming up around now. This whole Firefly thing is taking off and lighting up. So I've got a workshop this weekend called the Firefly Experience, how we burn bright without burning out. I'm building some retreats around the Firefly Experience. So all that can be found on my website, leadershiprevolution.com. And if you follow me on any of the social media, I'm under Wendy Lee on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm on Leadership Revolution on Instagram. So you can always check me out on any of those spaces.
Thank you so much, Wendy Lee. It was so wonderful to talk with you this morning. And thank you for shining your light.
Thank you so much. And thank you for offering this space for people to do that. Love you, my friend.
Love you too.